Hi guys! I am always behind on BookTube videos, so it wasn't until 2 weeks late that I realized Jade from Jaded Reader tagged me in the no disclaimers book tag, so that's what I'm going to do today. I am sorry for being so slow. I decided to follow her example and wear my boldest lipstick, so let's do this. I don't know who the original creator of this tag is, and Jade didn't know either, but if you happen to know who it is, I would be more than happy to credit them. The first question is, which trope in books annoys you the most? And I have two answers for this. The first one is miscommunication as a conflict. I absolutely hate when the main reason that two characters can't get together is because they don't talk to each other and they're going through so much unnecessary pain that could be erased in a minute if they just spoke to each other. It's not a healthy relationship if you're not talking to your partner, and I think it's so stupid and such a common trope that I don't understand. The other one is having the love interest's current girlfriend be a bitch and not actually care about the guy and just wanting to be with him for the status that it gives her. It's so frequent in shoujo manga, especially, that I've seen, and it makes the main girl look so like good and innocent and like, oh, I actually love him, where she doesn't, and it justifies stealing someone else's boyfriend, and I think it's disgusting and annoying and really awful. I actually know one manga that kind of subverted that and didn't have the love interest girlfriend be a bitch, and that was Strobe Edge by Sakisaka Io, the same mangaka who made overrated. His girlfriend in there was actually like really sweet and really nice, and it was so refreshing to see, and I feel like that should happen more often because that trope is just so stupid to me and so annoying and promoting girl hate, and it's just, I can't stand it. Question 2 is, what writer or writers do you feel are overrated or overhyped? I could say people like Sarah J. Maas or Marissa Meyer, but I have never read any Sarah J. Maas books, and I've only read one Marissa Meyer, so I don't think that would be fair because I haven't given them a shot. But I will say Cassandra Clare, because I read the first 6 books in the Mortal Instruments series. The first 3 were like okay, and I absolutely hated the next 3. I could not stand them at all, so I'm gonna go with Cassandra Clare. I do not plan to read any more of the Shadowhunter series, the Infernal Devices, or anything. I know everyone like absolutely loves Infernal Devices and they say it's so much better than all the stuff before it, but I have no interest, especially if I have to go through all of the bad stuff in the beginning to get to the good stuff. Like, I don't have the patience for that. Question 3 are, what are your least favorite books you've read since joining BookTube? There are 2 that I can think of right now. One was Sourdough by, I don't remember, I will put it here. I DNF'd that book at I think like 60%. It's about a woman who works at a tech company and she like hates her job, and then she's suddenly given this like alien sourdough yeast culture, and it seems like really interesting, like it would be weird in like an interesting way, and it has to do with baking, and I love baking, but it was just so odd that it didn't make any sense. The plot was kind of like meandering and going nowhere, and it wasn't weird in a good way, it was just weird in a confusing way, so I couldn't get through it. I DNF'd it. And then the other book that, right here, hold please, this one. I hated this book so much. I read, I don't know, like 50 pages of it, and I stopped. I was so mad at it. This is like the 34th book in the Xanth series or something. I read all of the previous books. I loved the Xanth series growing up. It was what really made me fall in love with fantasy, and I hadn't read one of these in a long time. He's still writing these books. They came out in like the 80s, and he's still writing. There's like 5 other books. I actually have 2 more right here that I don't plan to read because I hated this. It's so annoying and poorly written. The writing is awful. The storytelling is awful. The dialogue is awful. And then every other sentence is about some woman's boobs. It's disgusting and it was annoying, and I wanted to throw this book across the room, so this book. I didn't even say it's The Well-Tempered Clavicle by Piers Anthony. Question 4 is a terrible ending that ruined an otherwise quality book. I'm going to kind of tweak this a little bit because I'm going to mention a series that started out good in the first book. I loved the first book, and then I absolutely despised the second and third books. They were atrocious. And it's the Looking Glass series by... I should really have looked this up before. I don't remember. It's an Alice in Wonderland retelling, and I thought the world building was incredible. I thought it was really like original, the way that they changed the world and sort of made it this like warlike Wonderland, and it was really interesting to me. The characters were fine, they were okay. They weren't like the strongest point of the book for me, but they also weren't bad. And I really enjoyed where it was going in the first book. And then I read the second and the third books, and I was just so annoyed because the plot was stupid, but also the writing was stupid. I think because like the second book goes more into like war with, I don't remember, like the White Queen in the North or something, and there were just so many really stupid onomatopoeias like spread throughout as like the gunfire and everything, and it would just have every like twice on a page it would be like blam and like all caps and exclamation points, and it was really stupid and annoying. It was present in the first book, but not to that extent. So yeah, I really disliked the second and third books, but the first book, I had so much hope for it. Question 5 is, which fictional characters do you wish weren't killed off? And I'm just going to say the first Mistborn book right here, Final Empire. Yeah. Alright, that's all I'm gonna say. Question 6 are, what are some of your bookish pet peeves? I think things like insta-love and, like I mentioned in the beginning, the miscommunication trope, I despise. I realize all of the things that annoy me are things related to romance. I don't know, but I also hate like love triangles, cannot stand them, especially in manga. Most of these things are related to manga for me because I don't really read romance novels. I read a lot of romance manga instead. And those are some of the things that really annoy me in them. I also find it kind of annoying when there's like in fantasy books you have like this strong, all-powerful wizard who comes and like swoops in and saves the day out of an impossible situation as well. That, I don't know, for some reason it feels like a cop-out, like Deus Ex Machina, and that annoys me as well. That happens sometimes in the Rhaenyra Revelations, which I'm reading right now, is what I can think of at the moment. It also does happen in Lord of the Rings, but like Lord of the Rings is like the purveyor of fantasy tropes, so it kind of gets a pass on that. Question 7 is, what are some books you feel should have more recognition? And this is kind of hard because I haven't really read very many books that are not like super hyped on BookTube recently, so the books that I can think of that I really enjoyed before BookTube, I read a really long time ago, and I don't know if I would still feel the same about them now. But I would go with the Tiffany Aching series from Terry Pratchett's Discworld series. It's, I think, either YA or middle grade. I'm not sure which genre it falls into, but it's meant for a younger audience than most of the Discworld books. And it follows this witch out on like the Scottish plains, and she runs into these little people called the Wee Freemen, as the title of the first book in the series would suggest. And they're so funny, and it's just so fun and adventurous, and I really enjoyed those series. Those were the first Discworld books I ever read. And it's already set in this like well-developed magical world from all of his other Discworld books, and so it was able to focus a lot on the character and the adventure plot that's in the story, and I remember really loving it a lot. I am going to be rereading it once I get to it in my reading of the Discworld series. I think I'm on book 10 now, and I think those ones are around like 14 and 17. I'm not sure, but I definitely will be rereading it soon. And I don't think it gets much recognition. I don't think any of the Discworld books really get recognition on BookTube. They are well known like in the outside bookish fantasy community because Terry Pratchett is a very well known author and his Discworld series is well loved, but I never hear anyone on BookTube talk about it, so I just wanted to put that out there. It is a great young fantasy series, which is like the heart of BookTube, so why is no one reading it? Read it. Question 8 is, what are your thoughts on censorship and banning books? And that is a difficult question. I don't think in general, books should be censored or banned, but at the same time, it matters what sort of audience is going to be consuming those books. You sort of run into problems with like free speech versus harming people. And I wouldn't want to have books that harm people, but at the same time, it's sort of like a fuzzy line between letting people state their opinions, but then also having it be like a malevolent act. So this is why this is still like an ongoing problem and has been for like centuries. So in general, I don't think books should be censored or banned, but at the same time, if it's harming others, I don't feel like I'm qualified to answer this question. Question 9 is, who do you tag? And I'm going to tag Shell at Pixie Dust and anyone else who wants to do this tag. And thanks again to Jade for tagging me, and I will see you later. Bye.